Welcome to the first chapter of the complete repertoire for the French defense. I've been developing this repertoire for over a decade. I've used every resource under the sun, including chess books, chessable courses, and also a collaboration with a couple of GMs, namely my co-host Eugene Perlstein, also Georg Meyer, and also Wesley So. So in this first chapter, we'll be looking at the Nc3 variation of the French defense. I give the credit to Eugene Perlstein to find the way to play against that with the Mccutcheon French. So let's get into it. So after e4, e6, d4, d5, Nc3, I chose, instead of after knight e6, I did not choose to do the windower. It was really too much theory for me. I have a lot of things to worry about, like college and life. Bishop b4 is not worth my time to just study theory. I chose, after knight 6, bishop b5. So I had a history to not play bishop b7 here, because I played this initially. But after this one, knight d7, I think that's strategically dubious to have this bishop be traded off for a bad bishop, because this bishop is a good bishop for black, because the pawns are light squares. And also, I really dislike this Chatar attack with h4. I have really bad results. That's why I settled with bishop b4, a very fighting opening variation. So, after e5, there's a lot of things that white can do after h6. We'll be looking at the variations of bishop takes f6, pawn takes f6, bishop h4, bishop e3, bishop c1, and bishop d2 was the main line. So we're looking at all of them. So let's start with the main line, bishop d2. Now we go, as black takes on c3. They take with either the pawn or the bishop. Let's see the main line, b takes c3. Now we go knight e4. And white can go queen g4, attack g7. And it's a rule of thumb in this repertoire to go king f8. So there's a lot of people are wondering why I don't go g6. But I have tested this line honestly, and I don't like the results that black gets. So I like to do this king f8 move because I see a lot of variations that do this exact same move, and I don't want to have to think about it. So white goes bishop d3, attacking e4 with the bishop. So now knight d2 comes, white takes back the king, and now c5. White goes usually h4, knight c6, rook h3 to go rook e3, attacking g7 some more. So now black goes c4, attacking the bishop. So they go to e2 back, and now black goes b5. And again, white goes rook g3, attacking this g7 pawn. We go rook g8, and white goes queen f4, try to do this bishop h5, attacking f7 threat. So now, how to defend this one? We go bishop b7. After bishop h5, we go bishop e8. Now bishop is doing something. It was a really bad bishop, but now it's a really useful piece. Now knight e2 is played, and black goes a5 to go b4. So after rook b1, we go b4, and black is doing really good. In conclusion, this is a really good way to fight for a win as black in this line. So now, going back to this bishop c3 line, why don't we look at the bishop takes c3 line instead of b takes c3? Now we go as black knight e4, and white usually goes bishop b4 to cut off the king from going kingside castling. Now black goes c5, attacking the bishop and the pawn on d4. So there's two ways to take on c5 for white. So people can go to c5, but it's a really big mistake, because we have this cool shot, knight takes f2. After the king takes, we have this cool fork of the king and the bishop with queen h4. After g3, queen takes b4, and black is doing really well. So white will be in trouble, and black has a winning advantage. If white plays a smart way, they go bishop c5 instead. And the result, we do knight takes c5. After d takes c5, we go as black queen c7, attacking this pawn on c5 or the pawn on e5 at the same time. So white goes usually knight f3, We go knight d7. We don't take on c5 already, but after queen d4, we have a choice to take with the queen or the knight, and black stands really good in this game. So we don't have to worry about anything, but because it's a very solid and fighting way for black to play the game. Let's cover a one slightly offbeat retreat that white plays, because the main theory actually for black is really bad. So I'm going to be showing you the correct theory to play against this line as black. So we go g5, they go bishop g3, we go knight e4, white goes knight g2, and now we have to do the key move. Theory says go c5. White, although in this c5 line, white has very good results to win the game. With the f5 line, however, black stands really well instead. So now it goes f3. We go knight takes g3, h takes g3, black goes now bishop e7, a3, and it's really cool. Now we go bishop f8. Why do we do this? Because we have a square for the queen to go to e7, queen e7. It's very important to not block the queen from going to the square because of this following line. So now white goes queen e3, it's a queenside castle. Now black goes queen e7. White goes queenside castling, and we go as black knight c6. White goes g4, we take a g4, pawn takes g4, and we go as black queenside castling, and black is better. Look at the pawns are ugly for him. We have the bishop pair in the case if the game opens up at all. We have bishop g7, rook df8 plans, having an open f file for us. Really easy way for black to play for a win. About bishop c1. It's a clever looking move, but it's really easy to treat this one. So now e4 for black. Now white goes queen g4 most often. Black goes king f8. Again, this king f8 move comes up. Then white goes knight g2. Black goes now c5, attacking the d4 pawn. White goes a3, putting the question the bishop. Black goes h5, attacking the queen. White goes queen f4, and black goes bishop a5. Black goes take on c5, and black goes knight takes c3. And knight takes c3, and black goes, in this case, knight c6. After bishop d2, we go bishop c7. There's no way to defend this pawn twice. And we win this pawn, and the game will be in black's favor. Well, let's look at the other retreat, bishop e3. It's a really clever one because of the following reasons. After knight e4, queen g4, this is an exception that we have to know that we have to do g6, not king f8 this time. And there was a reason why, you're going to see right later. So after a3, black goes h5. We've seen this one before. And after queen f3, black goes bishop takes c3, check, pawn takes c3. Now c5, bishop e3. Now we are allowed to do this knight takes e3 line because we have two pieces in front of the queen, and also there's no king f8. There's no bishop a6 to discover attack sort of tactics. So after knight takes e3, white goes d takes e5. Black goes now d4, attacking the bishop and e3. White goes bishop d2, and we go knight d7, trying to take on c5 or e5. White just goes queen f4, defending the pawn at e5, and we just take on c5. Then you go knight f3, again taking this pawn d4. We just do knight d3, check. Pawn d3, and now we go this cool move, knight d5. Inviting them to take on d4. After queen d4, we have this cool maneuver, bishop g7, plans to go bishop g6, have this really good bishop. After castles, bishop b6, bishop b5, attacking the queen, we go queen b6, trying to trade off the queens. If they refuse to trade, we go knight c3. This is a really cool move because it controls the b1 square from any rook b1s, attacking the queen, or this also prevents rook c1 either way because knight e2 forks. So usually white goes knight d2, we go now queen d4 without the knight defending the square. After queen d4, we have knight e2, king h1, knight d4, and After knight c4, trying to do a check, we just castle. And black has a really good game because the factor is there's no rook c1 either way. And there's a really good oppo for the knight. And there's a really good bishop putting pressure on the white. So after bishop e3, knight e4, there's another move that is knight ge2 first of all, not queen g4. In this line, we go c5. After they go a3, we go pawn takes d4. They take on d4 with a bishop. We go bishop a5, and white goes usually b4. Now we have this cool move, knight c3, knight takes c3, and now bishop b6, trying to trade off this bishop for this really central controlled bishop on d4. After knight b5, we go castles. No knight d6 nonsense. After bishop b6, we go queen b6. After queen d4, we go knight c6. And dividing the trade of queens, after this one, a takes b6, and black has a really good position. Knight b4 is threatened, knight takes e5 is threatened, and black has really good chances to win. So lastly, we're going to be talking about the captures on f6. So let's start about the bishop takes f6 lines. We do g takes f6, of course. After this knight f3 move, we go knight d7. It's very important to do this knight d7. We'll see later on why. So after pawn takes f6, we go queen f6 to control e5 with a queen and knight. So after a3, we go bishop f8. We see this move again. They go queen e2. We go c6. There's a reason why we don't go knight c6, because we can do this move c6 now. c6, g3. We go as black bishop e7, bishop e2. We castle. They castle. And now e5 happens. It's black. They take out e5 for the d pawn. We take back. They take back. We take back. They go queen e2, bishop f5 happens. This is a really cool game that GM3 won is black. We'll see that right now. Rook f1, but Driv goes queen d4, rook ad1, queen d2, rook d2, rook fe8, rook de2, king f8, bishop f3. That's too clever because bishop takes c2 wins the pawn, and white actually is on the game right here. And finally, we're going to be talking about the very critical line about e takes f6. Now we go pawn takes g5, pawn takes g7, rook g8. There's a couple moves that we're going to explore with queen h5 or h4. The most popular move is h4. Let's look at that. We go takes on the h4 with a pawn. Queen h5 happens. Queen f6, queen at h4. We go queen g7, not trading off queens now. Knight f3, knight 6. Try to queenside castling this way. Queenside castling for white. Bishop b7, bishop b3. We go bishop b7, tagging the queen to have a way to just queenside castle. After queen f4, we do bishop b6. It's important to not castle the queenside or righty because of knight b5 concerns. So after queen a3 is the main move, queenside castling. So white usually goes g3 now, and black goes rook h8 to control the h file. So now b5 happens, but black goes bishop b4. a3 happens, bishop a5, b4 happens, bishop b6, and black has a really decisive advantage. So knights are paralyzed. The threat is to go a6 and to win d4 pawn. Also, the h file is really as black's favor. Take on h1 and rook h8 controls the h file a lot. So black has a big advantage. On top of that, we have the bishop pair. Now let's look at the other line after g takes h4. What about queen g4, not queen h5? Now black goes queen f6 still. After rook h4, we do queen g7. Queen g7, rook g7. After rook h8 check, we want to go bishop f8 blocks. Go, castling queenside. But we now go c6, and we have a good position. So the plan is to go knight d7, b6, bishop b7, castling queenside, and they have a good game with the same things that we talked about before. that will be really good for black. Lastly, we're going to look at the move. Instead of h4, white goes sometimes queen h5. We go queen f6 still. Now if 3 happens, we do queen takes g7. h4 happens, now we just take the pawn. After rook takes h4, we go now knight e6. They queen side castle, and we go bishop b7 to the queen side castle. Sometimes they go queen a7, but we just refuse to trade queens and we go queen f8. Now it goes usually queen e3, and now we go just queen side castling, and we have an easy game. So we have the bishop pair, we have the control of the g file, so that the wasted tempo of g3, and also we have a control of the center with the 2 center pawns.